Hello, welcome to Beyond the Finish Line. I am Georgia, and you are welcome here with Matt. How are you going, Matt?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. It's good to have some routine with the podcast now. Episode 4. I feel like we're
Ep-
hitting our stride a little bit.
Episode 4. I'm finally in a routine with doing this with you. Poor thing, has been definitely trying to get me a little bit more structured with this, and we're getting
We'd
there.
be 8 episodes deep if it were up to me.
It's okay. I'm a working girl, full time. Got
That's
to fit
true.
the training in that you give me.
Yeah, and I guess I'm pretty lucky that I do the majority of my work from the same place I do the podcast from, so it doesn't really make a difference.
Exactly. I'm a little bit all over the shop, and that is okay.
hmm
How was your week, Matt? I thought we would kick off this episode with a little bit of a high and low of your week of training because your training and my training completely different. So, how was your week?
Yeah, my week was good. It was sort of the first real week of Ironman prep. So
Yes,
with
you did a big announcement this
today,
week.
yeah, so I announced that we're trying to do a sub 10-hour Ironman at Ironman Australia, May 4th, 2025. So I try and do a countdown pretty much from 100 days out. That's kind of like go time for me. That's sort of 13, 14 weeks of really good training plus a 10-day taper. Uh, so yeah, this was the first week of, I guess, Ironman prep. And
But I mean, your Ironman prep's been happening for a while. It's not like you're starting from scratch, right?
yeah, it's just different. And I've spoke to you about this, about like having seasons within the year. And I think we even spoke about it in the last episode where just because I'm training swim, bike, and run, I'm not necessarily fully focused, fully locked in on it. I'm just doing it. It's like that base building phase, like just consistently training, keeping fit, and then sort of that 100-day out mark. That's where I just sort of fully lock in, and that's when the social life sort of disappears, and to start dialing in the sleep and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So tell me, what was the high of your week of training this week? What's been the best bit?
High of the week of training was I'm not sick, so that was fantastic.
You had
Last
a
I
rough
went when
one.
I was at training camp, I was sick as a dog, and when you're trying to train under the weather, there is nothing worse. So the high was just being healthy for a full week and having a
Nice.
full week of consistent training, which was awesome. And the low, weirdly for me, I had a threshold run, and it was I actually think I gave you a similar run, or maybe you've got it next week. Uh, it's like 2 minutes at threshold, 1 minute at VO2 for 3 rounds. So
Oh, that sounds like something that's coming, and I'm not looking forward to
yeah, you
it.
might not be there yet. But so for me, that's like 2 minutes at 4:30 pace, 1 minute at 4 minute pace, maybe 3:50 pace, and
Right.
just my 1 minute, that 1 minute pace wasn't there. I just couldn't get up, and it was really frustrating. So normally speed isn't an issue for me, especially when it comes to running, but I just couldn't hit the numbers. So it's for the first week of Ironman prep and you're already not hitting numbers, it can mess with the head a little bit, but it's all
Right.
good. Just one of those days.
Yeah, of course. And now I know you just quickly jumping on that one. I know you just said at your threshold pace, just for those who are
Mm.
listening who might not know what threshold means, what is a really quick recap of what that is?
So threshold is the simplest term is we have aerobic training, which is aerobic means with oxygen. So that
Yep.
means zone one, zone two, your body's ability to take in oxygen, produce energy from it, put blood into the muscles, make them work.
Yep. So super
Anaerobic,
easy.
yep, super easy. Anaerobic means without oxygen or without air. And basically, once you start sprinting or you're running at a certain pace, so you're
Hmm.
above threshold, that's where your body can no longer consume enough oxygen, whether that's mouth breathing or nasal breathing, to give you the energy needed. So that's why you have a very small window.
Yep. So anyone who saw my TikTok on Sunday, that was me.
Yeah.
No air going in.
Yep, exactly that.
Oh, very good.
And how about you? Highs and lows?
Highs and lows. Look, it was a great week. This week was my birthday. When this comes out, it will be a couple of weeks after, but I celebrated my 30th birthday this week. So great week. Managed to fit in all of the cake as well as all of my training, which does play a little bit of havoc.
That's a lie, just so everyone knows. But
Hey, 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 now, now. Look, the cake and the sugar definitely threw me for six this week. I didn't think that would be something that would affect me so much. But yeah, look, the high was definitely all the amazing feedback we've gotten on this podcast. So I was in a really great mood. And so my runs just felt really good. Do you know what I mean? Like I just
Yeah, yeah.
enjoyed all my runs. I think that's a very rare thing when you're running a lot. You can,
It can
you
get a
know,
bit monotonous for sure.
yeah, for sure. Get a little bit monotonous. So that's all good. But the low was my workout on Sunday. Now that was a fun one. It was meant to be a 5K time trial that Matt had programmed for me. I usually don't mind these. So it is a 5K warm up at what I remember the last one being was an easy pace. This one was not an easy pace. It was a
It's
5:30.
2K easy, 3K at like tempo, and
Yeah.
then 5K all out. Yeah.
Yeah, so the tempo kind of knocked it out of me. I was running a little bit later, which
You're
was
a big
probably not
girl now. You've done enough marathons. You've done enough training. You can handle it.
woe is me, poor me. But yeah, look, it was really hot, so it was my own fault. I started a bit late, but I was running alongside my friend Marco, who was actually on a 5 hour long run. Shout out
Oh,
to Marco, who's doing the Kosciuszko Miler, or not the Cosy,
oh,
just a
yep.
Miler. Yep,
Yeah,
so
yep.
crazy guy. But yeah, then after that, I changed my shoes, ready to get a PB, and just it didn't happen. I was just not feeling it. Couldn't breathe. The old asthma kicked straight in, and I was definitely wheezing, which is probably not ideal. So I sent you a voice message, didn't I? And you sent me a lovely one back.
Yeah. I think I was in the middle of my run as well
You
when I
were.
sent that to you. Yeah. I just think the most important thing for those runs and for anyone who sort of maybe does time trials, especially if they're prescribed by a coach, they're not designed for PBs always. It's more to get an accurate representation of your current fitness level
Mm.
rather than
Oh,
like
there
it
you
would be
go.
it'd be so unreasonable for me to go, you need to PB this, or I want you to PB this, or I think you can PB this, compared to you two weeks out from a marathon. Like the
Mm.
two are just not comparable in terms of fitness.
Yeah.
So all I'm trying to do is get an accurate representation of your current fitness level.
See, that's so funny because in my mind, I was like, I have to get a PB today. And then 2K in when I knew I wasn't going to hit it, I was just like, this is not good. But
Hmm.
we've rescheduled it for this week, so it's good to know that going into it that I can just do it as best I
Yeah.
can at the fitness I'm
Yeah, and
currently
like
at.
you in half marathon prep, for example, when we're doing a lot of speed work, it's you're not the same athlete as you are then compared to marathon Georgia. Like there's just different times for different things. You can't
Mm,
compare. You got to compare apples with apples, not
yeah,
apples with oranges. Yeah.
yeah. No, it's good, but that's all right. That was probably the low, but to be honest, it wasn't too bad. I was happy with myself. I gave it a go, and it didn't really work. I think a week of poor nutrition and poor sleep and all of that. We've all been a bit sick in this household, so anyway, we move on.
Yeah. I think that's important too. Is just to the more you train and the more aware you are of your body, the more you know when it's not on. Like when you should when you should take a step back. Like I think a lot of people say listen to your body, and as soon as there's any adversity, they stop and like, oh,
Mm,
it's just not happening today. And sometimes it's good to push through, and sometimes it's good to be like, you know what, like I've had enough experience with this. I know it's not
yeah.
where I'm meant to be.
That was definitely the moment I knew in my head. I was like, I'm going to give it a little bit longer and see if this is a mental thing or if this is a physical thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to hurt myself here. Let's pull right back. And I just jogged the rest. But definitely the time you should be listening to your body as opposed to trying to push through for a PB.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but just on that, I thought this week we could chat about getting into running. I know our first episode we talked about our own journeys and especially mine as a beginner runner. So I thought for everyone listening, maybe we could give them some tips on getting into running if they're thinking about getting into running or if they're currently started running and maybe they're like, oh, this isn't for me.
Yep. A little
Yeah,
bit
so I
lost.
a little bit lost, give some people some advice on how they can keep going, try not to give up, that kind of thing. So I thought
Yeah,
I'd
I
kick
think it
them
was definitely our most requested topic, that and goal setting.
definitely. Definitely. And it's my most requested topic on socials that people constantly ask is, oh, how can I get into running? Or can I have some tips as a beginner runner? And I love answering these. So much fun. But I thought I'd kick it off with the first one. And I think this one might be self-explanatory for some, but others maybe something they don't think about too much. But go slower than you think. I think everyone, including myself, when I first started running, would just run at a pace that felt like running. And that's probably not the best idea.
Yes and no. Um, this is where, as a philosophy, yes, obviously I agree, but I would say this is where social media confuses people, where they
Okay.
go, "I'm just starting running. I'm doing my very first run. Let's just use an arbitrary number. I'm going to run 1 kilometer."
Yep.
And they go, "I've got to run 1 kilometer at zone two." Number one, they've never run a kilometer. Number two, they don't know what zone two is. They're so much better off just going out and running and learning what that feels like, and then running again, and then running again, and then running again, and then being like, okay, I've run 4 or 5 times now. Let's start playing with what different things feel like. Let's run a little bit slower. Let's run a little bit faster. I think people get too in their own head about it, whether that's the pace that's going to be on Strava, whether they're doing zone two or whatever. And that sort of paralysis by analysis. Yeah. And they think about it too much and then they just don't do it.
Yeah. Do you think though, I mean, zone two aside, I think that's such a buzzy word the last couple of years,
Yep.
but do you think, I know for me, my first couple of runs, I was running, like really running, and it took it out of me so quickly. I think if someone had told me at the time, just drop it back a little bit, not necessarily like, oh, try and run a 7 minute pace or an eight, whatever pace. Do you think just as a very broad term, like just drop it back a little bit more than you think is helpful? Or do you think just going all out and just seeing what happens?
Definitely not all out. I think I think that'll discourage more people than help people. I think yeah, like as a concept, yeah, obviously just run whatever you're running. When you just start running, take it back 10-15%. Like that's probably a
Yeah.
pretty good general rule. But I'm also a big fan of if you want to start running, just go and run 3, 4, 5 times over the course of a couple of weeks, and then be like, you don't even have to have a look at the data. Just be like, cool. It took me 30 minutes to run 2 kilometers, whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's try and slow that down and just see how I feel. So I'm going to make sure it takes me 35 minutes. Like, yeah, whatever, the numbers are arbitrary, but you get the point.
You're such a data nerd. I love it.
Well,
Whereas
I
like,
mean, it's just math.
yeah, but see, when I first started running, I was just like, I just want to run I just want one lap. I just want to get it done, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, it is.
But there is something to be that, like just pulling the pin and going, like us starting this podcast, right? You were like very much, you were overthinking it. You were like, I want to make sure everything's perfect. I want to make sure the social media is right. I want to make sure we have a good name. And I was like, let's just record. Let's just record. Let's just record. And then we worked it out, right?
We did.
It's the exact same. It's the exact same with anything. Just sometimes you just need to jump in and just test the water a little bit, and then work it out as you sort of go along. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that for your first half a dozen runs. The first month of running, just going
Yeah.
and running, just run, work it out. After that, you can start sort of
Yeah.
doing it.
Look, I think a lot of people give up, and I think this is probably where you want to just really stick it out a little bit. And I know the first
Absolutely.
might not be amazing, and you might feel really crap, or you might be really sore the next day. Don't feel discouraged. And as you were just saying, like give it a month, and then look at the data and go, okay, well, I was really exhausted after that run. Maybe I need to drop it back a bit.
Yeah. And I had a feeling you would sort of ask this question. I was kind of thinking of the best way to put it out there that would encourage people to run more.
Yeah.
And when I went back and looked at a whole bunch of guys who before I had the performance project, I would just coach, just sort of more consult with, like they'd just ask me for advice, and I wasn't charging anything, and it was just helping mates. Almost exclusively, they would start running, go and run a 5K, and then they wouldn't, like just say on Monday, and then they wouldn't run again till Saturday, and they
Yeah.
might run 3K, and then they wouldn't run for another 6 days. And I was like, why didn't you run consistently? Like, why didn't you just run 3 days per week and run a little bit less? And they were like, I was super motivated, super pumped up, got new running
Yeah.
shoes, did a full send for the 5K, and I was so tired, so sore, whatever,
Couldn't
that
run
I
for another week. Yeah.
didn't run for another week, right? So I sort of thought, I was like, how's the best way to break this down to a beginner runner? And I was like, cool. Let's just say you did one run for a week and it was that 5K. You're so much better off on Monday running 2K, Wednesday running 2K, Friday or a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, running a 2K, right? So you split that 2 kilometers times three. That's 6 kilometers over the week. So you've accumulated more volume. Sorry, guys, if this is a little bit nerdy for beginners, but I promise it'll help you so much more than just going out and running. Um, you've accumulated more volume and frequency. And running is essentially a muscle, right? Like you're training your brain and your body to deal with adversity. Like I promise every single runner when they first start running, even now, even experienced runners, when they start, they go, I don't really want to do this. And after 5 or 10 minutes, they're like, okay, I'm in my groove.
Yeah, it always takes a little bit to get into it though. That's for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. So if you broke that 5K up into 3 by 2K, 3 by 1.5K, whatever, over the course of a week, and then you repeated that for 2, 3 weeks, you would be so much further along than just trying to go out all motivated and run a 5K and then not run for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think, just touching on that though, because you've always said to me, I think for beginners, it's always good to go by time and not distance.
Yep.
I know a lot of people will want to go by distance, so that definitely makes sense in like doing a 2K, doing a 2K, doing a 2K over the course of a week. Do you think it is more beneficial for them to be like, okay, look, if you're running a 7-minute pace, a 2K is going to be what, 15 minutes? So go for a 15-minute run, then do another 15-minute run? Or do you think it is good at the start to maybe start out with a couple of low kilometer runs?
I think
Or a mix?
whatever, yeah, I think whatever gets you out the door and start running is just go
Yeah.
by what distance or time, like whatever you prefer. I wouldn't do anything over. I mean, we're talking like fresh runners, like you
Yeah.
guys haven't had no running experience. Cap yourself at 20 minutes, like wherever that falls. If it's 2K, 2.5K, if you're a naturally good runner and you can knock out 3 or 4 in that time, awesome. But yeah, I wouldn't do anything over 20 minutes. 3 20-minute runs, 3 2K runs, however you want to break that down. It's kind of doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and then I think every week you gradually increase it. Yeah.
Increase time or increase frequency. You don't increase both.
Yeah, one or the other.
Yep. And yeah, until you sort of reach a spot where like, okay, I'm running 2K 5 days a week. And like, all right, cool. Let's drop back down to 3 runs and increase the distance a little bit.
Yeah. Now I'm just going to get on the more of my favorite side of running,
Go
and
for it.
I think a really good tip for if you're starting out running is try and find yourself like a friend or a run club or someone who's going to keep you motivated, because if you're trying to hold yourself accountable, I know for me a lot of the time, sometimes, I shouldn't say a lot of the time, sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't feel like going today. But if you have a friend who's going and meeting you, you are more likely to go out and go for a run. So
Absolutely.
having a friend or someone who maybe might be either in the same boat as you, just starting out running, or maybe a friend who's been a runner forever and is happy to jog along with you. I think that's a really good way to stay motivated and bring a bit of excitement to running. You could join a run club. You could, come to my run club. Just kidding. We only host that like once a blue moon, so it's probably not something consistent. But that kind of thing where you can kind of be around like-minded people, I think is a really good way to start out running.
So I live rurally and we don't have run clubs where I'm at just because it's a half-an-hour drive just to go into town, right?
Wow.
So I know different worlds, right?
Well, I kind of understand it, but I kind of am like, oh my God, crazy. I live here in Sydney and Matt lives, a couple of hours from Sydney?
Yeah, Hunter Valley.
Yeah, so no run clubs for you.
No run clubs for me. But from what I've heard, and obviously a lot of the guys I coach are in the city, that the run clubs can get pretty intense. Like they're like, oh, everyone's welcome, all paces, but you rock up and everyone's just running threshold.
You know what though? I feel like those run clubs are the Eastern Sydney run clubs because the ones I
Oh.
attend aren't like that.
Oh,
But
okay. So
you've
we
got
need
your
Georgia approved run clubs for beginners.
yeah. Look, the run clubs in Sydney are amazing, and there are some incredible run clubs here. The one I go to on a Wednesday, we run on average between 6 and 6:30 per kilometre, 5Ks capped, coffee done.
Yep.
Whereas there are some run clubs near the beaches. Not talking about Coogee Run Club, that's an amazing inclusive run club here in Sydney, but some of the run clubs are definitely full of the fit bros who like need their egos checked a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So maybe if you're going to do, from an outsider looking in, if you're going to do a run club, maybe do a little bit of research first. Is that fair to
Yeah,
say?
I think so. I think
Message
if you
someone
jump
who's
on,
message someone who's gone to it or something like that.
definitely, I think jump on either message someone who's been to it, or usually the run clubs will have someone who hosts it, or you'll see them frequently on the socials, so you could probably message them. Or to be honest, jump on TikTok or Reels and just search the run club, and there'll be tons of people who've done videos on it. I know a lot of people will put up a video being like, oh, come with me to the run club, and they'll say their full experience. So that's a
Yeah.
good way to check it as well.
Okay. Yeah. I just because I don't do run clubs, so that's just what
Different
I've
world.
heard. Yeah,
Different
different
world.
world. Yeah, I hear different stories, and I thought it'd be I'd hate for someone to go to run club and then everyone's running 4 minute Ks and they're like,
Yeah.
well, I'm an hour behind everyone.
Yeah. And then I can totally understand that and then feel not great about themselves because they can't keep
Yeah,
up.
absolutely. And then they don't run again, which would be
Yeah.
a nightmare.
No, definitely. I can understand that. Look, when I first started running, there were no run clubs, whereas now there's probably 30 in
There's
my
so many.
area. There's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
many. But there's definitely, look, if anyone needs to know an inclusive run club, hit me up. I will definitely help you out because I know so many in Sydney alone that can definitely be more inclusive than others.
Hmm.
Do
Perfect.
you have another tip for everyone, Matt?
Um,
Have I just put you on the
yeah,
spot?
so sort of following on from that is don't be worried. Really, like it's hard in the world we live in, and I have a love-hate relationship with social media, as you guys will learn. But don't be worried about Strava data. Don't be worried about what it looks like
Oh
on social
yeah.
media. Like just just run. Like learn to enjoy running. Don't care about the pace. Don't care. No, I promise you, no one is looking at Strava and going,
Oh,
"Oh, look how slow that person is." I have never
100%.
once done it. I don't know
Neither.
how many workouts I have on Strava and how many people I follow. All I do is go, "Awesome, that person trained. Kudos, kudos, kudos." I don't
I
even look at the
know.
numbers sometimes.
I know
I'm just like,
neither.
"You got after it today. Great job."
Good on you. Yeah, exactly. Look, to be honest, I think you could probably skip even getting Strava for a while if that's something
For
that's going
sure.
to worry you. Like for me, I've only ever used Strava as a way to record my runs and keep track of my progress. I think when you're starting out, definitely if you're someone to look at the numbers and worry what people think, don't get Strava.
Yeah.
You're going to be in your head, but if you can control that, don't worry about it. As Matt said just now, like I don't look at the data either. I'm like, cool, that
I
person just went for
couldn't.
a big swim. I wouldn't even know what a good pace was for that. Or, this person went for a trail run, or, everyone's
Yeah.
doing their own thing.
Yeah, and I think just uh, what people, the people who are into Strava or maybe struggle with Strava, even
Mm.
social media, like posting their runs on social media, whatever, struggle is with context. So, like, if I give you a 20K zone two run and I
Mm.
give Nick, so George's husband now, who I also
Weird.
coach, if I give him 20Ks with 3 by 5K at race pace, from the outside looking in, they're like, oh, Georgia and Nick, both 20K runs, both same day, both same time, both at Centennial Park. Nick's 3 minutes per kilometer quicker. There's context missing. And
Yeah,
like, so people, but it just don't worry about it. That's the guy. Just don't worry about it. No one
Matt's
cares.
lost for words. He's like, just don't
I'm just,
worry.
I just, it shits me that it stops people doing stuff. It really does because it doesn't matter. And speaking from someone who like I'm constantly on Strava because there's a lot of pro athletes on there, and I
Yep.
get a lot of inspiration for different workouts
Okay.
from things like that. I really use it as like a research tool.
Wow.
Uh,
Very interesting.
like I've never once looked at a workout and gone, that guy sucks.
No, oh my God. And I mean, if you were, what a sad excuse for a human. Who's
Yeah,
doing that? Like,
100%.
oh,
100%.
I can
Yeah.
completely relate though. Look, I think a lot of people get in their heads with Strava and worry, but look, as you said, you use it to look up athletes and workouts. That's such a cool way to use it. I've never even
Yeah.
thought to do that. I'm just purely on there to record my runs and keep track of them and be able to look back at how far I've come. So, look,
Yeah, that too. Like it's also it's a great and I'm pretty sure you can set it to private.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, so if you still want to track your runs and have the data, just set it to private. Easy.
yeah, definitely. Look, and in talking about private running and stuff, just one for anyone who's signing up to Strava, there's actually a feature on there where you can either hide your map or you can
Mm.
start the map from a
It doesn't show
kilometer
you the
from your
start
home.
finish point, yeah.
Yeah. So, look, probably not a huge deal for some people who are out, and they've got two followers or
I think for
whatever.
the females that listen, for sure it's important.
It's very
Safety,
important.
absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely. Look, someone like myself, I live in a very dense, populated area. I don't run at night. I try not to run really early in the morning, but I also make sure, that the fact that I do post my runs, I make sure that my map starts from a distance that's far enough away from my house that I'm comfortable with. So if you are signing up to Strava, make sure you check that out. It's really important to keep yourself safe as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, definitely. I think another really important thing we should talk about is strength training.
We can do that.
Yeah, so look, when I first started running, I was a bit of a gym rat and I loved it, did a lot of legs. But then I thought, oh, I'm running now, that's using my legs. I don't need to really train that much. And I think my first marathon, I didn't really train and got injured. And then I met you, Matt, and you were like, yeah, cool, we're going to the gym.
Yeah.
So what
Uh,
kind of strength training and how often should people be doing that? What's your take on that?
yeah, so I would say that strength training isn't a necessity for runners until you're running pretty consistently 3 times a week and you're accumulating, let's just say, north of 20 Ks per week,
Mm,
something like that. Um, if you just enjoy strength training and you just do it like maybe you're a high rocks athlete or you just do a bit of CrossFit or F45 or something like that, PT, that sort of strength training combined with a little bit of running, say sub 20 kilometers per week, you're going to be fine. You don't have to rehaul everything. Uh, Getting over that 20 kilometers per week, the science sort of promotes 2 days per week. They think that's adequate.
yeah.
Where we're doing compound movements, so back squats, deadlifts, things of that nature, and then some accessory movements. So normally movements that complement the motor pattern of running, so whether that's A skips, B skips, lunges. For some people, this is going to be a lot of information, so I am going to try and keep it pretty chill. Maybe we can do a different episode just on strength training for runners, where we
I think
can
so. I think,
we
as you
can
said,
nerd out a little bit more.
we can nerd out a little bit on that. But
Yeah.
I just want to go back though, where you say if you're doing less than 20 Ks a week, and what if people aren't doing F45 or they're not a high rocks athlete? They're just everyday gal or guy who just wants to go for a couple of runs a week. Do you think going to the gym or maybe doing some sort of leg movement at home would be helpful? Like even if they're doing, body weight exercises or not
Uh,
necessarily?
I would say it depends. It's all goal orientated, right? So there's obviously context. If your goal is to just run 5Ks twice a week and you don't care about your pace and you're just doing it for cardiovascular fitness, I would say not. If you're like, eventually I want to build up to a 10K, a half marathon,
Yeah.
then yeah, even just doing things like body weight squats, lunges,
Mm-hmm.
step ups, banded crab walks, so where you put like a resistance band over your knees and you sort of move laterally, and you can do the same thing moving north and south as well. All of those movements, pretty much anything that sort of activates your glutes and you moving
Mm.
English, please, Matt.
Calm down.
Yeah, I know. Your
He's getting
just
excited, everyone. He's getting all
I'm getting
excited.
into coach mode. You're lifting your knee up and you're creating that circular pattern. I always tell my guys it's like a skateboard. If you think about pushing on a skateboard, that's the muscle pattern of running. Anything that sort of puts that muscle
Similar
pattern under
movement.
resistance. Yeah, exactly. Like,
Okay.
it's not obviously not the exact same, but if you just think about it from a position, it's very similar.
Okay. Look, I think our best thing would probably be let's do a whole episode on strength training.
Yeah, it is quite nuanced.
Yeah, look, and there's so much as well to learn. Even I'm still learning stuff. I think lately in the gym, you've got us doing a lot, us being myself and Nick, but I love it.
And we've only really ramped that up in the last, pretty much post Sydney. Like we really ramped it up. You were doing
Yeah,
quite basic stuff pre Sydney, so that gives you guys an idea of like Georgia and I worked together for 6 or 7 months before we
yeah,
really pushed strength training because there is a balance of where your body can absorb the strength training and you can perform running,
yeah.
and vice versa. Like if Georgia had a really hard run to then go and ask her to do squats the next day, like that's not always possible. So
No, and look, and vice versa. I think doing a heavy leg session and then trying to do a threshold session, no, thank you.
yeah, exactly. So there is a lot of nuance to it, but for beginner runners, very basic movements: body weight squats, lunges, step ups,
Yeah,
box jumps, anything with a band on it around your knees that's going to activate your glutes.
yeah.
That is more than enough. 2 or 3 times a week, you'll be all good. If you are a regular gym goer and you want to add running, whatever you're doing now, I promise will be enough until you sort of
Perfect.
build that volume up.
Yeah, there you go. Look, I never even thought of that. If you're just going to the gym as it is, that's probably enough.
Yeah,
So,
if you just, do a push pull legs, or, legs is Friday, chest is Monday, whatever, like you'll be you'll be more than fine until that volume starts getting up there.
yeah, okay, cool. And look, my last one I've got written down is about setting small goals. And for me,
Hmm.
small goals has always been what's pushed me along. Whether it be a 30-minute run, one lap around Centennial. I know you guys have heard this story before, but definitely, yeah, look, the one lap around Centennial was always my big goal. And then it was, a 6K, a 7K, an 8K. I think setting really small and achievable goals, like we spoke about last week, is really helpful for beginners.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, following on what we spoke about last week, I don't care how small the goal is. The smaller the goal, the better, because you know you're going to achieve it, and you can start
Mm.
building momentum. When you've got some confidence and some momentum rolling, then you can start stretching them out to a little bit
Oh,
bigger, a little bit more audacious goals. But when I'm setting goals just starting out, even now, like when I'm just starting Ironman prep, for example, that first couple of weeks is like I need to crush every single workout to help start building that mental confidence. So
yep.
it doesn't change whether you're an experienced athlete or you're brand new.
No, definitely not. Look, my goals change all the time, and that's the best for me. One of the best things about running is there's constantly it's you against you. So you can constantly set a new goal for yourself. For me, I've got my sub 4 goal that I still want to hit. I've got, at the moment a sub 24-minute 5K goal. And every time you hit a new goal or a new PB, you can celebrate that. And even if it's 30 seconds, like you can hit a new PB all the time. And it's so
Oh,
exciting.
30
So
seconds is massive. Like sometimes if I hit it by 2 seconds, I'm like, yeah, awesome. Great
it's a
work.
PB, quick,
Yeah,
put it on Strava.
exactly. Like that's just, yeah, I think people, that they're just too hard on themselves. And like what
Yeah.
you just said then about you versus you, this is something I tell, especially my male athletes that I coach. So many of
Yeah.
them, whether they do a run club, they do a race, and they're like, I was in the middle of the pack. I'm like, were you racing those people or were you trying to do what you're trying to do? Like, which
Yeah.
one is it? Because we
Yep.
didn't train to race all these people. That's not what you told me you wanted to do at the start of the program, when we started working together. And they're like, oh, I never thought about it like that. And I'm like, yeah, you're just doing you. Don't worry about
Yeah.
them.
And
They're
they're all
just
just
they're
doing
here to
them.
do them. They're doing their
Yeah.
own thing. They don't even know who you are.
Yeah. They don't care. They're like, oh, who's
Yeah,
this dude?
exactly. So,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
definitely you versus you. And the same goes like if you're running around and you're seeing people running, you're like, oh, they must think I'm so slow. And it's like, they do not care. They're like,
No.
That person's running because I'm not thinking about other people. I'm thinking about me.
Yeah, I'm trying not to die.
Exactly. Well, yeah, on Sunday, trying not to die. Thank
Yeah.
you. But definitely look, set some really achievable small goals, I think. And even if it's, as I said, make it achievable because then it's fun. You want the joy in running. You don't want to constantly be like, oh, I haven't done well.
Yeah. I listened to do you know Tim Ferriss?
No, sorry.
Oh, so Tim Ferriss like wrote the 4 Hour Work Week, and he's
Oh, yes. Okay. Yes, I
yeah,
do know. I'm
yeah,
terrible with names. I'm so sorry.
that's all right. And I don't remember if it was on his podcast or he said it, or a guest on his podcast or he said it, but it was on his podcast. And he was like, when a great way to break down running was like, on Monday, I'm going to pick the shoes I want online. I'm not even going to go to the shop. Tuesday, I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to try the shoes on. If I like them, I buy them. If I don't like them, I'm going to start the process again. Like Wednesday, go pick another pair of shoes online. Thursday, go to the shop. And he was like, by Friday, I'm going to do my first run. By Saturday, I'm going to do X. And he'd basically broken down the idea of I'm going to start running to my first run, all these super, super small achievable goals over 7 days. So try the shoes on, go for a walk around the block in the shoes.
Hmm.
And that I can't remember every single step, but basically he broke it down to such small goals that it was impossible to fail. And
I
I
think
just think that it's a
that's
really interesting concept.
that is, yeah, and it's just, as you said, it's the same. It's for running. You just small, achievable, tick them
Yeah.
off. It's
For
10
some
minutes.
people, going to Athlete's Foot and doing the foot scan and buying your first pair of shoes is
Yeah,
like a super intimidating experience.
yeah,
So like make that your first goal. It's like pick the shoes,
yeah,
buy the shoes, use the shoes. There you go,
yeah,
3 goals. You can knock that out in a week, and look how far you've come in those 3 steps.
yeah. Look, make yourself accountable. I'm going to go and buy some shoes because I'm going to do this. I think touching on even just going and getting the foot stand at athlete foot is such a great thing for people to do. There's a lot of, I know in my personal space that I see online, a lot of people ask me, well, what shoes do you recommend or what's your favorite shoe? And while these are really great questions and really lovely questions for people to ask, but my foot's completely different to your foot.
Mm.
Would recommend 5 shoes that I love, and I love certain brands, but that shoe might not work for you. So I think getting a scan and understanding the makeup of your own foot is super helpful. I can understand, though, it is hard to go somewhere and get told a shoe and you're like, oh, they're not really a cool shoe. So as much as, don't pick a shoe because it's cool, but have a look at what the makeup of the shoe is and pick something that is suited to that. That's going to be comfortable for you. Because if your feet hurt and you're getting blisters, that is not ideal.
Yeah, I think let's just do shoes quickly because I think that's a big part of people
Yeah. Well,
starting to
I
run.
mean, as much as running is a free sport, you've got to get a good pair of shoes, and that can be the make or break.
Yeah. So either go to your local shoe store that does scanning or
Yeah.
Athlete's Foot. All the Athlete's Foot have it, but I do try and promote local stores when we can.
Yeah. Look, if you're in
Um,
Sydney, head to Pace Athletic. They're amazing for that.
Pace Athletic, all those guys, any guys that
Yeah.
do the scan, get you on the treadmill, actually have a look at the way you run. You're going to get an infinitely better product than just like going to Rebel and ordering something.
Yeah.
Uh, some basic things when you're starting to run. Number one, no carbon plates. I don't care how many of Georgia's reels you watch where she's running fast in them. They're not going to make you run fast.
Hey, calm down. I didn't get a carbon plate right away. I was a good girl. I think I run in Brooks the first time I started running.
Yeah. No, but
No alpha flies.
some
No
people
alpha
don't.
flies.
No way, alpha flies. Jesus Christ, alpha flies in the wild is my favorite Instagram page, by the way.
Me too.
But yeah, you don't need a carbon plate, and I promise you, if you're just starting out, the way carbon plates work, it's actually going to make you run slower, and you're going to get sore feet, probably a stress fracture, and you'll never want to run again. So no carbon plates.
No carbon
At all.
plates. I know. I only learnt that recently from you, so that's very
Yeah,
helpful advice.
yeah. Carbon plates don't really work until, depending on the shoe, like the earliest we've seen results is like a 540 per kilometer, and that's like
Yeah.
some, not even all. Most of them don't work until you're sort of sub 5 minutes per K. I would say for most beginners, you want something with a lot of cushion. So
Yeah.
when we talk about cushion, if you look at, I'm just going to name brands, but then you guys, like, you have to do a bit of your own research.
Yep.
Something like an Asics Nova Blast, that big thick cushion.
Yep. Definitely.
Um, Saucony Triumph, a Bondi 9 from Hoka, the New Balance range. I can't remember what it's called. The
1080s.
1080s. Yep.
Yep. They're a
But
great first running shoes. Super
exactly.
cushioned. Great
Yeah. So
support.
you just want to look at that big old wedge underneath the heel. And
Yeah.
basically, if it doesn't have that big wedge, it's probably going to be a rough shoe to learn in, just because
It'll be
I'll
hard
try not to
to.
get, yeah, but I'll try not to get too nuanced. The more experience you get at running, the quicker you can turn your legs over, so you pick up your cadence. All that means is that your ground contact time gets less and less. When you're starting out, you have a lot of ground contact time, so it's like a real pounding, and you want as
Yeah.
much cushion as you can in between that pounding.
Yeah, definitely. As Matt was just saying, the faster you get, you're hardly even touching the ground too much.
Yeah,
So
you just flicking your feet through, so then you can afford to have less and less padding.
yeah, definitely. And look, as Matt said, some really great shoes there. The Asics Nimbus is another great one. That one's super, super cushioned. Probably not as much, sorry, support around the ankle than your Nova Blast. I think you really want to make sure you're looking for a shoe that has less of a knit upper, something a little bit more in a mesh, because that I
Yep.
find is better on your ankles, especially when you're just starting out. But loads of people I know run in the Sauconys. I've heard they're absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Um,
I was actually a Saucony diehard, love them, and I recently got the Nova Blast 5s. I was talking to
oh,
Georgia about it. I was like, "Are they good?" And she's like, "Yeah, they're good." I was like,
they're
"All right, I'll try
amazing.
them." I think it could be the most versatile shoe in Australia at the moment.
100%. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I only pretty much run in Asics, but
Yeah,
that's purely because I actually find them to be the best shoe for me and for me personally. Out of all of the shoes that I've tried, I used to be a diehard Super Blast fan, but this Nova Blast 5 is absolutely incredible. I'm constantly picking it up.
yeah. So the first not first run, I ran with them to the top of Kosciuszko, which I not normally wouldn't do because it's a bit traily. I normally would just wear trail shoes,
Yeah, but
and I
they got a
actually,
good sole on them. They're pretty
yeah,
sturdy.
no, they held up. They were fine, and that was a combination of wet metal and dirt trails.
Yeah,
And then on the weekend, I just did a speed workout in them. They were a little bit off this is for me being super nerdy. They were just a fraction off the pace. My cadence was a touch low, but I was also sort of getting into that 450 range of pace. So that's probably where
yeah,
they cap out.
yeah. You probably
Um,
need a tempo shoe for that.
yeah, but I was just putting them to work, see how they went.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that back to what George said about get your foot scanned by whoever at Athlete's Foot, Pace Athletic, local store. Take the characteristics that they give you. So whether that's you pronate, you have a wide foot, whatever it is,
mm-hmm.
put all that into Google and be like, give me the best shoes for it. And then just go and work your way through the list, try them on, find out where they're at,
Yeah.
and do it. But
Better yet,
don't
get
feel
into
like you need to make
ChatGPT.
that decision right then and there. Like, go
No,
test some shoes.
definitely not. Don't make that decision straight away. I mean, do what I did. We didn't have ChatGPT started running, but you could chuck it in that, put in what they've said, give me a list of the top 10 shoes that suit
Yep.
this style of, foot. But for me, I just went into Athlete's Foot. They told me what they thought, and I just Googled shoes and then found one on sale.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing.
Yeah, yeah. When you're starting out, you don't want to be spending a ton of money on a shoe you're not sure you're going to like. So, you can also look for the shoe that is the iteration before the one that's just come out. In saying that, the Nova Blast 4 to the Nova Blast 5, slightly different shoes, but a lot of the
Yeah,
other shoes will be quite similar, so you can get them really
yeah,
on sale. Just until you can work out what kind of shoe you like,
yeah. And don't be afraid to test out different shoes. Like, I I personally have 3 or 4 different sort of easy running shoes. I have 3 or 4
Yeah,
different tempo shoes. I have a couple of different pairs of super shoes, and my foot and the way I run has changed over time. And that does take months and years, but there are certain if I went back to where I think the first pair I had was a pair of Brooks Ghosts.
Oh,
And
same.
yeah, so I think if I put on a pair of Brooks Ghosts now, I'd feel super awkward. I'd be like Bambi, legs all
Yeah,
over
no,
the
me
place.
too. Me too.
Yeah,
Super heavy on the feet. At
yeah,
what they would feel. They're not actually, but they're a
yeah,
great beginner shoe.
yeah.
Um,
So I think don't be
but look,
afraid to
yeah,
evolve with your shoes as you run, as you get better runner.
yeah. Look, I think we could talk about this all day, though. I think there's
Yeah,
lots
we could.
about shoes and running, and I could definitely talk about running shoes all day.
Yeah, yeah,
As most people would know. But I think that's a pretty good way to start your running journey if you're getting into running or you have been running for a while and you just need some advice. So if you've got any other things you want to know, hit us up. You can follow us on our new Instagram too.
yeah.
Yes,
What I
Matt,
was
just give
going
me
to
a minute.
do, Georgia, was maybe you can make a reel out of this and we can do a poll or something. If people want like a beginner to 5K program, we'll do one up for free for like anyone who wants to do
Amazing.
it.
It is always so hard to, and that is another thing I get asked all the time is where do I find a program to run 5K? And I'm like, I'm not sure. So I think that is a great idea. A free program on us is awesome, and we'll send you guys the link. But yeah, hit us up on our new social media, on our Insta, and we can obviously help you out there. Yeah, Beyond the Finish Line Pod on Instagram and on Spotify.
Are we on TikTok?
We're not on TikTok yet.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
on
we're not on
TikTok.
TikTok.
Follow me. No joking. We may be on TikTok soon. I think Matt doesn't like TikTok that much, do you, Matt?
I don't use it at all. I post and then you don't see me again until
He
I have to post
ghosts.
again.
He's
Yeah,
terrible. He
posting goes.
posts and ghosts.
Instagram, that's where I live. Come find me on Instagram. Matt B Performance or the Performance Project. I got that. I also have another podcast, but unless you're into triathlon, that's not for you. So
I'm sure they'll be able to find that through the link in your bio, right, Matt?
I think.
Oh my gosh. See, I
Oh
guys,
no,
I could
it
kill
is
him.
in my bio.
I
It
could,
is
do
in
you know
my
how many
bio.
times I've
I've
had to
got
message Matt and be like, Matt, can you please fix this in your bio? Or Matt, can you please put something on TikTok so that I'm not looking like a loser tagging this ghost account?
the Performance Project has nothing on TikTok. Only my personal one does.
I know, shocking. I'm like, it's not hard, just copy paste. Copy paste.
I'm busy writing new workouts. That's what I'm
I know
doing.
he is. He's a busy guy coaching people, and here I am. I'm running like bloody 15 million social media accounts full
Yeah.
time. That is the fun of it, though. Hey.
Yeah, I definitely don't envy you. I'd much rather be writing programs than dealing with social media.
Well, there you go. I can't write a program, so here we are. But we can
Yeah,
definitely do
perfect.
a app on social media. Maybe Matt might learn some things off me for once.
I've okay, guys. Here's the truth behind it. I have asked Georgia multiple times, like, "Will you be my social media coach?" And then she's like, "Yep, absolutely." And then I just don't do what she says.
Yeah, I thought you were going to throw me under the bus then and say that I'm
No,
a
no.
terrible
Every
social
time
media
you're
coach.
like, "Yep, you've got to do this, this, and this," I'm like, "Okay," and then I don't do any
Doesn't
of it.
do it. Ghosts me, guys. Ghosts me.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
I'm good on the stories. I do stories every day.
You do. He does the stories. He does what is it on a Monday? Who's
Rip and tear poll.
rip and tear poll. I think one time I made the mistake of saying that I wasn't going to, and he got
Use
so
it.
mad at me.
If you vote no, you go on the wall of shame, and most people have learnt not to vote no now, so that's good. They get
I
called
feel
out.
like that's a bias. That's not an accurate poll. People are just scared of you.
We're trying to bring positive energy, and I want people who are enthusiastic about getting after it for the week. That is the whole point of the poll. People, we start Monday, we start all right, we're ripping and tearing for the week, we're getting stuck in. If you vote no, it's just, what
Get
are
out.
we doing? Yeah,
Here's
what are
the
we
door,
doing?
get out.
Guys, we got stuff to do. We got goals to hit, and if you're voting no, I
You're in the wrong
can't be
place.
around it. So that's why you get named and shamed.
Yeah, look, I did it once, never again. I hope I'm off the wall. I'm very positive. That was
The
early
wall,
days.
it's only a story. The wall only lasts 24 hours.
There we go. So,
Yeah.
note to self, guys, if you ever see that, just always vote that you're happy
Just
and
vote
healthy
yes.
and loving
Or
life.
don't vote. A lot of people don't vote.
Blink twice if you need help. That's me every week. I'm like, Matt, help me. I can't.
Nah, you're all
No,
right. You
I'm
very
good now.
rarely have a mental breakdown anymore.
Yeah, look, there was that one time in Centennial where I cried, but that was about it.
Mm. Yeah,
Anyway, that's probably a good place to wrap it up. What do you think, Matt?
yeah, we can wrap it up there.
We can wrap it up there. You and I could chat about shit all day. So
Well, that's the good part about having a podcast. It's all we have to do.
I know. And look, guys, I'm hooked now. So you've got me every Monday.
Yes.
And what days will we be posting these on Spotify, Matt?
Wednesdays. So
Wednesdays. Love it.
Wednesdays, I post it at
Early in the morning.
12, and no, I put it on Spotify at 12 because then it goes in like the 4 o'clock in the after. Like Spotify puts it out every X amount of hours, so it goes out of
Oh,
4.
this is all the stuff I don't know, guys. I'm just like,
Yeah,
thanks.
because it runs on American time, so it's a
There you go. So
yeah.
Wednesday afternoons on your commute home for those of you who
That's it.
are
It's
on the
perfect
bus
for the
like
commute
me.
home. Or Wednesday night threshold runs. You guys want to get out there, knock out some 800s. Georgia and I in your ear. What a delight. I couldn't think of anything better.
I've heard lots of people saying they listen to our podcast on their long run, and I mean, blessed, blessed.
Yeah,
Love that.
absolutely.
Keep tagging us in your stories of your runs with
Yeah,
us
and
in your
I
ears.
had a couple of people reach out. I know just quickly, because we only just put out the first episode, there are a couple of people who were triggered by my personal story. So anyone who got upset by that, I do apologize. That wasn't my intention. I was just being
Yeah.
transparent. On the other side of that, had about half a dozen people reach out going through something similar, mental health things, who
Oh,
were like
amazing.
super grateful that I did share. So I'm
Yeah.
always a proponent of I'll share my story because even if it helps one person, then that
Yeah.
is so much better than upsetting a couple of others. I know that might sound a bit harsh, but that's just my reality.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and look, I think you were super vulnerable, and I think that is incredible to share your story. That was me messaging Matt to say, can we chuck a trigger warning on that? But it is an important story to share, and I'm so, so glad people could hear that. And I'm so, so glad people reached out to say it helped them, and that's the most important thing, right?
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, for anyone who did upset, I apologize, but for the people it helped, keep fighting the good fight,
Yeah,
guys.
definitely. And keep listening. We will be in your ears on Wednesday afternoons.
Yep. Talk to you all soon. See ya. Bye.
Yeah, bye.